The Silent Contestant, Cha Eun-woo's secret journey to the stage. In every small town, there are stories whispered in coffee shops, retold in late-night gatherings, and passed on to generations like treasured heirlooms. But some stories are born in silence, quiet rebellions carried out not in defiance of the world, but in a fragile hope of being seen for who we truly are. This is the story of Cha Eun-woo, the Silent Contestant, a young man who carried a voice too powerful to remain hidden, yet too delicate to risk exposing without disguise. What follows is not just a tale of music and triumph, but of family identity and a universal struggle between duty and passion. For Eun-woo, music was never merely entertainment. It was a sanctuary. Growing up in a small town nestled between rolling hills and hushed fields, he often felt suffocated by expectations. His family, deeply traditional, valued stability over passion. His father managed a small hardware store. His mother kept the household afloat with quiet resilience. And his younger brother was already being groomed to follow in their father's footsteps. From the time he was a child, he would hum melodies while helping his mother fold laundry or strum his old guitar in the back room of the shop when customers weren't around. Music gave him a language that went beyond words, a way to express what he couldn't tell anyone else. Yet, whenever he hinted at wanting to pursue singing more seriously, his father would shut it down with a stern look. Music won't put food on the table, his father would say. Focus on studies. Be practical. So Eun-woo swallowed his dream and learned to smile through silence. Every year, the town hosted a small but beloved singing competition. It was a highlight of the summer festival, an event that drew locals to the community hall, where hopeful singers poured their hearts out on a makeshift stage lit by fairy lights. For years, Eun-woo sat quietly in the audience, clapping politely, never daring to step forward. But this year was different. A poster tacked onto the grocery store window caught his attention. Singing competition open to all. Winner receives $500 and recording opportunity. It wasn't the prize money that stirred something in him. It was the word opportunity. A small stage, yes, but a chance nonetheless. A chance to finally see what his voice could do outside the walls of his bedroom. But how could he enter without his family knowing? The thought of his father discovering his secret filled him with dread. That was when an idea, half reckless, half brilliant, struck him. He would enter under a fake name. And so, Jin Hwan was born. In the weeks leading up to the contest, Eun-woo rehearsed in secret. He would sneak out at dusk, guitar slung over his back, and practice by the riverside where the sound of rushing water masked his voice. At first, fear made his hands tremble on the strings. What if someone recognized him? What if his family found out? But as the days passed, his fear transformed into fire. His voice grew stronger, his confidence sharper. He was no longer just a dutiful son of a shopkeeper. He was a performer waiting for his stage. At home, his family noticed his absence during evenings. "Where do you keep going?" his mother asked one night. "Just taking walks," he answered with a casual shrug. She studied him for a moment, sensing something unspoken, but chose not to press further. The night of the competition arrived. The community hall buzzed with anticipation. Families filled the wooden chairs. Children ran around giggling, and the smell of fried snacks lingered in the air. When Jin Hwan was called, no one recognized the slender figure who stepped onto stage, his cap pulled low over his eyes. The first strum of his guitar silenced the crowd. Then came his voice, clear, powerful, yet laced with emotion so raw that it felt as if the entire hall was holding its breath. He sang of longing, of hidden dreams, of a boy trapped between who he was and who he wanted to be. Every note carried his story, though no one in the audience knew the truth. When the final chord faded, the room erupted in applause. People rose to their feet, clapping, cheering, shouting his name. Well, the name they thought was his. Jin Hwan. Jin Hwan. For the first time, Eun-woo felt what it was like to be seen. By the end of the night, the judges announced what everyone already knew. Jin Hwan was the winner. The $500 prize was handed to him, along with the promise of a recording session in a nearby studio. But as the cheers filled the hall, Eun-woo's heart raced with something heavier than joy, fear. How long could his secret last? The answer came sooner than he expected. Among the audience that night was a neighbor, Mrs. Kim, who had known Un-woo since he was a child. Though the cap and fake name fooled most, she recognized the way he held a guitar, the way his voice wavered on certain notes. The next morning, she visited his mother at the shop. "Did you know your son has the voice of an angel?" she asked. By evening, the truth was out, the family's reaction. At first, the house was filled with silence heavier than words. His father sat at the dinner table, chopsticks unmoving. His mother avoided his gaze. His younger brother looked torn between admiration and confusion. Finally, his father spoke. "You lied to us." Un-woo's throat tightened. "I had to. You never would have let me try." His father's jaw clenched. Music is not a future. But before the argument could escalate, his mother interjected softly. "Have you heard him sing? Really heard him?" There was something in her voice that made his father pause. That night, she played a recording someone had shared online, a shaky phone video of Jin Hwan's performance. The room filled with Un-woo's voice, echoing from the small speakers. For the first time, his family didn't just hear him. They listened. When the song ended, there was silence. Then, slowly, his father exhaled. "You sound like someone who belongs on a stage." A family transformed. It wasn't an instant change. His father still worried about practicality, about money, about the uncertainty of pursuing music. But the victory forced him to see his son in a new light. Not as a dreamer wasting time, but as a young man with a gift too extraordinary to ignore. His mother became his quiet supporter, helping him balance household duties with rehearsals. His younger brother bragged to friends, "My Hyung is a singer." The silent contestant had not only won a trophy, he had won his family's belief. The recording session led to small gigs in neighboring towns. Word spread, and soon Un-woo wasn't just Jin Hwan anymore. He was Cha Un-woo, the singer who had once hidden behind a fake name, but now sang boldly under his own. Whenever he stepped on stage, he carried with him not just his guitar, but the memory of that small town hall where he first revealed his voice. And in the audience, his family would sometimes be there, clapping the loudest, their pride shining brighter than the stage lights. The larger lesson: Un-woo's journey as a silent contestant is more than a personal victory. It reflects a struggle many face, the battle between expectations and individuality, between the life we're told to live and the one we yearn for. It asks us to consider, how many dreams go unspoken out of fear of disapproval? The contest hall. The hall smelled of varnished wood and fried snacks from the festival booths outside. Strings of fairy lights drooped across the ceiling, their glow soft but steady. Children ran between chairs, their laughter a counterpoint to the nervous silence of contestants clutching lyric sheets and water bottles. Backstage, Un-woo tugged his cap low. His palms were slick, his throat dry. Another contestant was warming up nearby, belting out high notes that made him flinch. Doubt seeped in. What if I'm not good enough? What if I humiliate myself? But then he remembered the river, the moonlight, the songs that had kept him alive when no one else understood. He tightened his grip on his guitar. This is not about winning. This is about breathing. When the announcer called Jin Hwan, his legs felt like stone. The stage lights blinded him. But once his fingers found the strings, muscle memory took over. He played the first chord gentle, deliberate. The hall quieted. Even the children stopped fidgeting. It wasn't polished perfection. It was raw, threaded with vulnerability. He sang as if he were confessing to the town itself. About wanting to be more, about being trapped between duty and dream, about silence that weighed heavier than chains. People leaned forward, drawn by something beyond technique. His voice carried a story, and every listener became part of it. At the chorus, Un-woo closed his eyes. In that moment, he wasn't hiding. He wasn't lying. He wasn't Jin Hwan or Cha Un-woo. He was simply a boy with a voice that demanded to be heard. When the final note faded, silence lingered, thick, sacred, before applause thundered like a storm. His name was announced as the winner, but the victory felt unreal. Hands clapped his back, strangers congratulated him, and yet he felt detached, floating above it all. Then came the words that sliced through his euphoria. "Isn't that Cha Un-woo?" Someone in the crowd whispered. Nonsense. The name says Jean Huan, another replied. But doubt lingered. Recognition had sparked. The next morning, Mrs. Kim's knock on the shop door sealed his fate. His mother's eyes widened as the truth unraveled. Dinner that evening was a battlefield of silence. The clink of chopsticks was the only sound. Finally, his father set his bowl down with a sharp thud. You lied. Un-woo's chest tightened. I had no choice. You humiliated us. Pretending. Sneaking. Singing like some street performer. The words stung more than he expected. He clenched his fists. It wasn't humiliation. It was me. For once, I was me. His younger brother's fork froze midair. His mother's eyes darted between father and son, torn. Then she whispered, almost pleading, "Listen to him sing. Just once." The shaky phone recording filled the room. The family sat in silence, faces lit by the glow of the small screen. Un-woo's own voice filled the air, echoing back at him like confession replayed. His father's expression shifted. At first, stiff disapproval. Then, something softer, hesitation. Even pride he didn't want to admit. When the video ended, the silence was heavier than before. Finally, his father said, "You sound like someone who belongs there." It wasn't a full blessing, but it was enough. The first time his family watched him. Weeks later, Un-woo was invited to perform at a nearby town. He hesitated to tell his family, but to his surprise, his mother insisted they go. Even his father, arms crossed, sat in the back row. When Un-woo walked on the stage this time, he didn't wear a cap. He didn't hide behind Jean Huan. He sang under his real name, his real self. And when he looked into the crowd, his father wasn't scowling. His mother's hands clasped together, eyes wet with pride. His brother waved like he was cheering for a superstar. That night, Un-woo realized his greatest victory wasn't the trophy from the contest. It was a moment his family truly saw him. The silent contestant was no longer silent. His story became one that echoed beyond his small town, reminding others that hiding your dreams may protect you from disapproval, but it also keeps you from living fully. And sometimes all it takes is one song, one stage, one